Human beings are full of biases, and especially when you start a company or think of a new product, you are likely to think it is the most wonderful thing in the world and have a lot of blind spots for the ways in which you could improve, right? You might want to improve, you might want to reach more customers. Why isn't this reaching more customers? But your own brain is hiding from you the reasons why your product isn't hitting the right niche or filling their needs, etc. So how can you become more objective? Well, there is one question shown to help people consider counter alternatives, and I will share that in this video. Hi, I'm Alec from Easier Habits, and I help overthinking entrepreneurs in how to take their anxiety and overwhelm and turn it into unstoppable execution. So how can you be more objective about your business and even your relationships and even yourself in a way that you can be responding to what is rather than what you would like to believe is true? And there is a wonderful book. I'll probably be mentioning it in a series with Meg. You can subscribe if you want Meg and my list of books that we think are helpful for personal productivity and business. And we will, so subscribe for that. But one of those books is Jonathan Haidt's Happiness Hypothesis, which is just a great grounding in what does and does not make us happy. And one of the things he addresses is like societal conflict and the fact that we don't consider counter alternatives. We tend to have us versus them thinking, which makes us very divided and angry constantly. And one of the few questions that can help us consider an alternative to our own thoughts, i.e. step outside of our biases for a bit, is the question, how could I be wrong? Now, interestingly, they've done studies about asking people to empathize with those that hold a different point of view. It doesn't really change how people receive or understand data that fits outside their biases. But the question, how could I be wrong, does. So a couple of examples, right? If you think of a new product, it's the best thing since sliced cheese or sliced bread, whatever, you're heavily biased towards that. And immediately you want to invest, the next 6 months in developing that and expanding that product. Well, ask the question, how could I be wrong about this product? And it's the number one reason why a lot of companies, in my experience, especially tech companies in Silicon Valley who are profitable, they always think the next big 6 to 9 month release involving multiple teams and millions of dollars will be successful. And that's why this project is always an exception to the industry best practice of releasing MVPs and testing as you go, rather than relying entirely on UX and, I guess, hope. People don't ask that question. They release a big thing. So if you instead ask, how could I be wrong about this product? Well, there's a lot of ways, right? You could be wrong about the niche, that they don't buy these services. You could be wrong about the needs of that niche or the needs that they recognize. You could be wrong about the features. You could be wrong about the marketing copy and how they recognize those features. You could be wrong about their aspirations or pain points or how they do or do not share the product with others. There's all sorts of things that you can be wrong about. And so if you realize, wow, I could be wrong in all of these things and I need to be right about them before I invest lots of time and money, you start arriving at MVP. Like, all right, how could I test? I verify that people in this niche pay for the type of service I want to offer even before I create that service or product. How could I verify that, right? A good amount of market research. Or how could I verify that my offer gets people to click? And this is one that's overlooked. People always assume, like, if I have a good UX and a good product, people will click through. And they are, especially new products, almost always wrong. You're just like, all right, test your offer first with a wait list or at least a smaller version of your product and see if people click through, rather than waiting for, rather than waiting to invest in a full product before testing whether people will click in it in the first place. So those are some examples of all the places you could be wrong about the product. Ask that question, how could I be wrong about this? And it might elicit, new and profitable niches. It might allow you to test out smaller products before you've invested, etc. But you can also use this for your mental health. In Tara Brach's Radical Compassion, she talks about when you have this feeling about yourself, a story you've been telling yourself, ask, is it true? And she says there's a difference between, is it real, i.e. do I feel this way, versus is it true? Is that an accurate assessment of who I am? And that's kind of implicitly, in a very kind and gentle and typically Tara Brach way of saying, could I be wrong about this story that I'm telling myself? So kind of crossing over from business to personal life. I can find it easier as a product development person and personal productivity. Those are my core strengths, along with instructional design, are kind of the core areas I offer as a coach. It is sometimes easy to tell myself I'm not a salesperson, or I'm not as good a salesperson as I should be. And ask the question, is that true? Can I think of any times where I actually sold someone really effectively on something? Maybe I'm just not doing the things that make me an effective salesperson, right? That would be an example of in business. But the same thing is also true of relationships. And I use this all the time for social anxiety. We've gotten a few great comments on the social anxiety video, link below. But one of the things that I do when I'm feeling anxious, especially when I'm feeling like, oh, they're going to judge me or I'm a mess up, is that true? Are there other explanations? Could I be wrong about that? Could there be other explanations for why someone acted the way they did? And very often I find that people's reactions to me can be better explained by the fact that they're not thinking about me at all than the fact that they're judging specifically me, right? And so that process of thinking, could I be wrong about them judging me, mostly helps me. Now, there are times when I'm actually right about them judging me, which, puts me in a tailspin, but I have decided that actually from experience, there's a lot more utility in giving myself the benefit of the doubt, assuming people aren't even thinking about me rather than judging me. And that allows my overthinking brain to rest a little easier in social situations. Asking that question, how could I be wrong? What are the other explanations for someone else's behavior, rather than they hate me, they're trying to get at me, they're judging me, etc. So if you want to get a more objective view of yourself, your relationships, your business, ask the question, how could I be wrong? Or what other explanations could there be? Is this true? Those are different ways. Pick what works for you, but those are different ways of helping you step outside of your biases and putting you into a different position, a position of red teaming your biases rather than just cheerleading them and being stuck entirely within them and blinded to other things outside. If this has been helpful, go ahead and like that video. If you want more content like that, including Meg and I discussing our most impactful self-help and business books, subscribe to this channel to get more content. And of course, until next week, make big changes, one small habit at a time.